but I'm going to start with a tape job that reconstitutes the transverse arch in the foot. On this sheet of paper, the first two figures at the top show the application of foot anchors. And the foot anchors, as far as I'm concerned, are optional. If they have a really sweaty foot, it might be not a bad idea to put it on, but then they're going to let go. You could make a better case for a foot anchor around the metatarsal heads for the Lodi tape job, which is the first one we're going to do for the transverse arch, than the longitudinal arch, because the tape finishes on the bottom for the longitudinal arch and you're standing on it, so you get better adherence of the tape onto the skin. When you're attaching on the sides, there's less pressure against the tape to hold it on the skin, so maybe an anchor is not a bad idea. You can use anchors or not anchors for any or all of these tape jobs, or you don't have to use it. But if you are going to use the anchor, then you have to put it on in a very specific way. With the ankle tape jobs, I said you could not put any anchoring within 1 inch of the first and fifth metatarsal heads, because if you come any further out, you can't splay it just by sticking your knuckle in there and give them a comfortable spread of the metatarsal heads. So for this one, because I'm going to be attaching my tape on the metatarsal phalangeal joint, on the MTP joints, I have to put the anchor around the MTP joints. That's what, if it's going to anchor the tape job, it has to go here. So if I'm going to put this on, I have to get the athlete to stand up. Just stand up here. Is that it? Yeah, stand up. And then step on there without killing yourself. Good. Here. Face the crowd. Your adoring fans. So if I'm going to put this thing on, I'm going to get him to lift the forefoot on this one. Keep your heel on the ground. Keep your heel on the ground and just lift the forefoot up. And then I'll take some tape and kind of position it. It has to be on a bit of an angle here. Now let your foot down slowly, stop. And I can reposition it. Okay, now put all your weight on your left foot. All your weight on your left foot. And then I just flip this on top, no pressure. Just put it together. And then when he lifts his foot, this is going to look horrible. But the bottom is going to be tight on the bottom of the metatarsal heads. So I have to do this because this now allows his metatarsals to spread normally, and it would be comfortable. Okay? So if you put them on, that's how you put it on. In the taping exam, if you're going to use it, it should look messy like this. Which, if it's not, you probably didn't get the person to stand on it. Okay? Good. Come back over here. I'm not going to use it because I want you to see where the tape gets positioned. You need to spray for this tape job, otherwise it'll just pop off. When you're using tape adherent, just give a little blast. That's it. Don't like this until it's dripping off their foot. It's just way too much. So when you put this stuff on, just fan it, blow on it, do anything to kind of dry it a little bit, and eventually it will get tacky. There. Once it gets tacky or sticky, then it's good to go. But don't put it on while it's wet. So we're going to put some strips from the lateral side of the foot around to the medial side, and as I said, it's going to be on the sides of the first and fifth MTP joints. The size of the tape, I can't use full width strips for this. I would have to wind up putting them one on top of the other wouldn't get a lot of good binding on it. When you're going around the heel, the tape will take off on you and you're going to have a lot of wrinkles. It's really hard. It's better if we use approximately a half width for these strips. But he's got a fairly long foot, fairly big foot, so I might use a bit more than half so I can eyeball it, and I'm going to tear off just slightly more than a half on this particular foot. So I'm going to start this, just slide this way just a bit. Come toward, there we go. Still there? Yeah. So I'm going to start this on the 5th MTP, and I'm right on the bone. It must be on the bone. If I start it back here on the skin, there's nothing, it's not going to work. I have to be on this good anchor on the bone. Run it behind the heel, take a measurement to the first, and then I'm going to do a little manipulation here. I'm going to get him to relax his foot. I'm going to take my thumb, find the second MTP joint, second and third, as long as I'm there somewhere, and then with my thumb I'm going to lift his foot up to neutral position, perpendicular. The next thing I do is check the tibialis anterior tendon and make sure it's slack. If it's standing up, let's say relax your foot, let it fall towards me, let your foot fall towards my thumb. Still not working, press your foot against my thumb very lightly, and it's soft. Once I get it soft, I reach over and push his first MTP joint down, pull on the tape, and stick it on. And you should see the first, the great toe kind of move out a little bit. It's going to move out more and more as we go along. So what I'm doing is I lifted the foot up with the thumb, and then I reached over and pushed down on the first and created an arch in across his forefoot. That's what I'm going to do 3 times. So I'm going to try and overlap these a little bit on the toe so that we get more tape in contact and therefore better binding. And I just push the first down. Pull hard on the tape. Really put some tension and pull it. And his toe, he has actually a bit of hallux valgus under normal circumstances, but you can see that there's quite a bit of a spread in the toe here. When I take this tape off, you'll see that his toe goes right up against the second toe. So this is working pretty well. It's pulled his toe out and down a bit. And when I look under here, straight through here, I've given him a bit of a transverse arch where he had none before. So far, it's working pretty well. I'm going to finish this off by putting a series of strips from just forward of the heel pad and just under the malleolus here. I'm going to bring these up through the medial side, and again I'm going to tear them off below the medial malleolus, half overlap these. I'm kind of grabbing the arch and just lifting it with my finger and sliding the tape in behind. It's not going to make a huge difference to the medial longitudinal arch, but it might help a little bit to keep it up in the air a bit. So I just work my way forward and try and get your ends so that they're at the same height as one another, half overlapping as I come forward. And one more that should do it. And if the ends are relatively neat and tidy along here, then that's okay. Sometimes the sock rubs and sort of wrecks the tape job, so I usually put just a little strip of tape over here, and maybe this way, just a little crisscross, making sure that pull your foot back. Right here, there's the tibialis anterior tendon, so I should probably lift this off and put a little piece of heel and lace pad under here. Make sure that the edge of my tape doesn't cut the tibialis anterior.
The strips that you put around one foot, do you not need to splay it?
No. Yeah, because we're not going this way, we don't have to splay it unless I put that anchor on. So these are kind of optional. Sometimes if this is really messy, you could put a little cosmetic strip along there that will help pretty counts, so it looks a little nicer. But that's the Logh tape job. This job is used predominantly to find out whether somebody needs orthotics. If they're having subpatellar, if you have an athlete that's got subpatellar pain issues, this is a really good tape job to put on. You can use it under a prophylactic ankle tape job, closed basket or a Gibney, and they should leave it on for a few days. And if in 2 or 3 days it helps reduce the aggravation under their knee, it's a good indication that that maybe the subpatellar pain is being caused by some biomechanical issues in the foot and they require orthotics. So, but these 3 tape jobs that I'm showing you are not long-term solutions to anything. Okay, the Logh is, as I say, just to give you some indication of whether the athlete needs orthotics. The longitudinal arches, which I'm going to do now, again, are not a long-term solution. If the person has plantar fasciitis or arch issues, they need to find out what the biomechanics are, what's wrong. They've got to figure out what the problem is, solve the problem, and then they have a long-term solution. This is just temporary to keep an athlete functioning while they're going and getting the thing dealt with properly by a podiatrist, doctor, physio, whatever, wherever you want to send them. So these 2 tape jobs now are going to go on the bottom of the foot. The Logh starting to stop on the sides of the foot. There are 2 different positions. I think it says on the sheet that I gave you, middle and medial. So if this athlete has pain in the middle of their longitudinal arch, it's probably plantar fasciitis, the beginning of plantar fasciitis. So I need to find out what the problem is, but I can offer a bit of relief. The tape job that I'm going to show you is one of several. You can go online and look around. You'll be able to find some other ones that will work, I'm sure, as well. This uses half strips. A few students have asked, why don't you use full strips? I could actually do a tape job that fills the whole arch in using full width strips. It actually doesn't work any better than the one that I'm going to show you. It uses a lot more tape. If you're working at a university and money is no expense, then go for it. Use it as much as you want. So once again, we sprayed, wait till it's tacky, and then we can put these strips on. So I'm going to do the one for pain in the middle longitudinal arch for plantar fasciitis. And this tape job is going to go from the bottom of the 5th to the bottom of the 1st. So I'm starting near the outside, but on that 5th MTP joint right here, around the heel, and I'll bring my tape right across the foot, over here to the 1st. Get my measurement, and once again, it's very important that my tape job finishes on the MTP joint. Don't get it up on the toe, because tape that comes up onto the toe on the bottom will prevent the toe from dorsiflexing, which means the athlete's going to have trouble running. Toe off. Can't do it. So you've got to keep the tape down here in the crease at the highest. So here's the tape. It's ready to go on. And now my manipulation. My manipulation is going to be to push the distal end of the MTP joint. This back, I'm going to push that straight back, and I'm going to pull the calcaneal tuberosity forward by pulling on the tape. So when I try and bring the two ends of the longitudinal arch together, the middle should bow up. Like I grabbed a green stick off a tree. If I have a stick on a tree and I go like that, bring the two ends together, the stick will bend in the middle. So that's exactly what I'm trying to do here, is bow the longitudinal arch up, or at least support it. So now you know what the deal is. You just grab right down at the base of the proximal phalanx, right at the MTP joint, but keep your fingers above it so you can get the tape on. If you grab here and you push backwards, this poor little toe gets all buggered and bent all over the place. It doesn't work. So you have to grab at the bottom of that proximal phalanx. I'm going to push straight back, pull really hard on the tape, and stick it on. This is marginally too long, so I'm just going to take a little bit off and leave it on. So what I'm going to do with these now is I'm going to overlap them from lateral to medial. And as I work my way across, I'm actually going to almost fill in same manipulation with each one. Push back and pull on the tape, little overlap, and one more will do it. Last one, push pull, and when I finish, you can see how I've got this tape spread where I started across the 5th, and it's spread across the 1st metatarsal. So I've got lots of area of glue of the tape onto the skin, so this is not going to come off. Then I can smooth this into the arch, and then I would finish it off exactly the same way as I did the last one. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but use full width strips from just below the malleolus and come up and finish just below the malleolus on the medial side. You finish them exactly the same as the Lodi. So that's the one for the medial side. The medial fifth to first. The strength of the tape job is right there in the middle of the arch. The other one was medial longitudinal arch. And for that one, it's probably stretching of the spring ligament and the short plantar ligament, which I showed you on the slide in the lecture. But the problem is more over on the medial side now. So to get some support for this one, we're going to go